Hi everyone, it's Melinda. Today is going to be a fantastic video about Sodalite and Lapis Lazuli. And I say Sodalite, actually I've been saying Sodalite for most of my life, but recently found out that Sodalite is a little bit more appropriate. They're both used widely, so I don't think there's anything to fuss over really, but they are called Sodalite due to the sodium in their chemical makeup. So it makes sense, sodium, sodalite. I'm going to try to keep saying sodalite from now on, but you'll just have to excuse me if I happen to say sodalite at some point in this video. Okay, so sodalite is a rich royal blue tectosilicate mineral widely used as an ornamental gemstone. Although massive sodalite samples are opaque, there are occurrences of crystals that are that tend to be transparent to translucent. I think I'll start by showing you my largest specimen. It's heavy, and we'll get that one out of the way. So this one does come from Bancroft, Ontario. And obviously it's the blue that is the sodalite. It's inside a matrix, and I'm going to talk more about that matrix later on. We are very well known here in Ontario for having world famous sodalite. So you will notice throughout this video that I have far more to say about sodalite and far more specimens to show, many of which I, plucked from the earth myself. Rather than lapis lazuli, and that would be why, because it's one of our local treasures. There we go. Another one from the Bancroft area. There we go. Beautiful blue. So sodalite was first discovered by Europeans in 1811 in Greenland, but sodalite didn't really become important as an ornamental stone until 1891, when vast deposits of fine material were discovered, like I said, right here in Ontario, Canada. Again from the same area here in Ontario. There we go. And it's got some of that typical pinkish reddish feldspar in there as well. So even though there were mass deposits found here, it didn't really become extremely world famous, our Ontario sodalite, until 1901. At that time, the Princess of Wales went to attend the World's Fair in Buffalo, New York, and she was gifted a piece of Bancroft sodalite. She was so captivated by it that she made arrangements to quarry enough to decorate her London residence, Marlborough House. So in 1906, I believe, the hillsides right in our backyard, right here in Bancroft, Ontario, were worked by the owners of the property for this mineral, and shortly after, 130 tons of the rock was shipped to England to be used as, like I said, a decorative stone in the princess's royal home. So that's where the name Princess Sodalite Mine comes from, and that's where the pieces I've been showing you so far were collected. Smaller one. Again, some of that pink feldspar that's so typical of our local sodalite. Sodalite, Melinda. I have to try and remember. Beautiful blue. This is a tumbled stone purchased at Princess Sodalite Mine. I'm assuming it's their material. And we actually visit this location to start up both of my May tours. It's like our nice little meetup point where we can look through their, beautiful shop and look through their, they have a rock farm that has planted minerals there, and it's always, you're bound to find something exciting in there. Yeah, I love that place. I love shopping there. I love hounding in the rock farm, so that's where we kind of kick things off on my tours. Earrings. Again, they're from Princess Sodalite. I'm assuming it's their material. And again, you can see that really stereotypical reddish feldspar in there. The other earring. There we go. Gorgeous textures. Oh my goodness. And I'll just quickly show you some of my other sodalite pieces. A little tumbled stone. Not sure the location where that came from. And then a point that I purchased in Glastonbury, the UK. Tiny little bits of that orangish reddish color. Go. So another local place where we can find sodalite is the CN Rock Dump, but it's a little bit more challenging to find there than at Princess Sodalite Mine. This is just a tiny little piece that I found. So the CN Rock Dump is actually a nice big beautiful pile of transported material from the Golden Keene quarry, and it was used for construction of the railway that does still, I suppose, run through the town of Bancroft. The majority of the material there is nepheline and black biotite mica, but there are rare sightings of, like I said, the sodalite, as well as Hackmanite. I think I'll just show you a little bit of the nepheline from CN Rock Dump so you can understand what the sodalite and Hackmanite it forms with and is found in. If that looks familiar to you, it's probably because it's actually an important feldspathoid mineral. Very much like a feldspar, right? I mean, it has very similar cleavage and look to it. It's usually white, gray, or yellow in color with a virtuous luster, as you can see. Very, very shiny. And poor cleavage, like I said, very, very similar to a feldspar. So the name nepheline comes from the Greek word nephil, which means cloud, because it becomes strongly clouded when put in strong acid. And it's used in glass, ceramics, roofing, rock wool insulation, building stone, and to make toilet bowls and sinks. Couple pieces just to show you. It's quite beautiful, but it is so plentiful in that area. So plentiful, so it kind of, after a while, loses its appeal when you've, collected a few and it's not hard to do so. It's just literally piled and piled and piled up at the CN rock dump. And like I said, this is the tiny little piece of sodalite that I found there. Okay. And then there's this one right here that has that black biotite mica on it. That is also very common from that area. And we'll see more of that later. So like I said, there are rare sightings of sodalite and Hackmanite at the CN rock dump. Actually, Hackmanite is a variety of sodalite, which I didn't know until recently, so I'm not sure if everyone is aware of that. And it actually tenebrescences. It's a very interesting stone. So when Hackmanite from Quebec or Greenland was freshly quarried, it was generally pale to deep violet, but as it was exposed, it quickly became a grayish to greenish white color, losing its beautiful violet pinky color. On the other hand, Hackmanite from Afghanistan and Myanmar starts off as a creamy white when it's extracted, and it actually develops a violet to pink red color in the sunlight, which is totally interesting and bizarre. The tenebrescence is accelerated by the use of long wave or particularly short wave ultraviolet light. And even some sodalite can fluoresce orangey, pinky color under UV light, but Hackmanite is really commonly known for that. And I actually have a cheap little UV light here that I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of experience of Hackmanite, the ones that we have right here in Ontario. On my Off the Beaten Path tour in May, we actually do go night hounding in this the specific area of Sand Rock Dump, looking for pink Hackmanite with our UV lights. Even little cheapy lights will work for that. And that's always a lot of fun. I can't wait to get out there and do that again. So I have my UV light. Let's see. I'm not sure if I have to turn off the lights for the video to capture it. I put a little bit of tape. It is difficult to see. It should be right in here. Right there. This one has a few. Right here. Right there. Do you see that? Also right here. Over here. And then, of course, this one never lets me down. Right here. Look at that. This is my best one. The others, not even remotely as bold as that one. There it is. The other ones are a little harder to see, I agree. but this one is quite unmistakable. There we go. This one's so fantastic. I probably would even do it even in the light like this. I mean, not as bright as what we saw in the dark, but still you can see the pink. Where it's gray, grayish white, it becomes pink. I just love that. I find that fascinating. Okay, so we've seen a lot of Sodalite. Now for Lapis Lazuli, which is sometimes just referred to as lapis. There we go. This one's been cut into a point and not polished all the way. So it's a deep blue metamorphic rock used as a semi-precious stone, and it's been prized since antiquity for its intense blue color. It was mined as early as the 7th millennium BCE. And although it's very similar to sodalite, lapis contains pyrite, which you can hopefully see in its structure, this kind of silvery gold shiny stuff in there. And yeah, and that's never really included in sodalite, so that kind of distinguishes them together from each other. And also, sodalite has a white streak rather than blue like lapis does. Let's see if I can get closer. There we go. There you go. You can see the pyrite inclusions in there. And here's my other specimen. So by the end of the Middle Ages, lapis lazuli began to be exported to Europe, where it was ground into powder and made into ultramarine paint. It was the finest and most expensive of all the blue pigments, and it was used by some of the most important artists of the Renaissance and Baroque period, including Masaccio, Perugini, Titian, and Vermeer, and it was often reserved for the clothing of the central figure in their paintings, especially the Virgin Mary. Isn't that stunning? And again, you can see the little shiny flecks of pyrite throughout the bright blue stone. There we go. There we are. So how do we tell them apart, sodalite versus lapis lazuli? So sodalite is an aluminum silicate seen with sulfur and chlorine, whereas lapis lazuli is, on the other hand, contains sodium, calcium, copper, aluminum, and oxygen. And there are people out there who believe that sodalite is like a component of lapis lazuli. But when we're just, you know, looking at our collection and trying to decipher which is lapis lazuli and which is sodalite, there are certain things that we can look for. So here's my sodalite point. Here's my lapis point. I'm full of mica, but that's okay. There we go. Side by side. So sodalite displays a darker blue color with black, whereas lapis lazuli shows like a very vivid, bright blue, and you can see the difference. They are quite similar, but lapis is definitely more of like an ultramarine blue, whereas sodalite is more of like a royal blue. Sodalite also can be translucent, especially in crystal form, whereas lapis is generally always opaque. Again, sodalite lacks the pyrite, the shiny, goldy, silver stuff that is typical of lapis. Sodalite doesn't contain that, doesn't have that. So really, when you see that shiny presence of pyrite, you know you're looking at lapis rather than sodalite. Also, sodalite shows a veined appearance, as you can see. Very veiny. Whereas lapis is more like granular in structure, you know, like little, it almost looks like sand composes it. And one of my very favorite ways to tell them apart, again, is that sodalite can sometimes include this iron-rich, orangey, pinky feldspar, especially in Canadian specimens, and you're not ever going to see that in lapis. So if you see that, those indications of those colors, you can almost bet that you've got a sodalite rather than lapis lazuli. All right, I hope that was helpful or interesting at the very least. Yeah, all of my sodalite, which I have to try and continue to say sodalite versus sodalite, try my best. But yeah, sodalite versus lapis lazuli. I hope everyone enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching, guys. See you next time.